Ms. Hedegaard, you spoke about the concerns of people around the world as they looked to this conference, but I just wondered if you had thought about what people around the world thought about the complexity of this conference, the frankly nightmarish processes here of trying to untangle all these issues. And I'm sure that the kind of question which people around the world would say, well, how did it come to this? Why did it ever become so complicated? If your house was on fire, you wouldn't set a 2-year process in which you would debate what to do and whose the outcome would be determined by the least ambitious and the most slothful member of the household. Could you please explain to the world as to why it is so incredibly complicated and why it can't be made simpler?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the right one to explain it, because I've put the same question to myself since I 5 years back attended my first COP. That's actually why I thought we should offer to make a COP way before normally is done so. We offered it back in 2006, because I saw in Buenos Aires 2004, my first COP, how the talks were, the words were the right ones, the concerns were the right ones. Somehow it also seemed that the will was there, but the steps that the world was able to take were much too small. And I thought there must be other ways of doing this. And one of the things that we have tried to do is to try to bring ministers much more into this process. And that is, for instance, what the Greenland Dialogue is all about, to try to bring ministers around the table to discuss this in a more political way, in order not just to have these very, very complicated, specialized things. Then one should not be mistaken. It is very complicated, but that is also why you need to have all these groups of experts doing their work. And the reason why this conference this year is so utterly complicated is that we have set this deadline to say, now we must bring this to an end, or it could continue endlessly, just getting even more complicated for each conference we have. That is basically the whole thinking about us, Denmark, hosting COP15. That is to try to stop this very, very complicated thing. Not that I don't believe there will be complicated things after this, but to get the political deal done. And in order to do that, you also must make it less complicated. You must also make the language just a bit less complicated, or politicians will simply not be able to deal with it. So that is the whole thinking behind the way we have conducted this COP presidency.
I just want to add something there. This process is not about ramming the interests of a few down the throats of many. This process is about many trying to address all interests. What makes this process complicated is that you have small island nations who are about to disappear because of sea level rise. You have oil producers who are legitimately concerned about the future of their economy. You have major industrialized nations who are afraid that they will lose jobs. You have major developing countries whose overriding concern is economic growth and poverty eradication. People talk about China reducing emissions. There are 400 million people in India who don't even have access to electricity. How do you switch off the light bulb you don't have? So this process can only be successful if it addresses all concerns, and that takes time.